It's not something where you're restricted in any way, you just have to rework it a little bit. So my biggest takeaways from having tried the ketogenic diet. Welcome back to the Anabolic Hub, where we make anabolic deliciousness. We're back outside my kitchen today doing something a little bit different. We're going to be talking about that time I tried the ketogenic diet. Yep, keto. I gave it a go about a year ago. I want to give you my thoughts, how I felt, was it worth trying, did I see any results from it, and what was my overall impressions after having tried it for a little while. Let's discuss. Here we go. So a lot of you have probably heard what the ketogenic diet is all about, but in case you're not exactly sure, essentially what you're doing is you're having about 70 to 80% of your calorie intake is coming from fats. The rest is mixed between protein and carbs, very little amounts of both. You can't have any more than 50 grams of carbohydrates on a daily basis, so obviously that's not a lot. Some might even say that that's a little high and would like to see it 30 grams or less, depending on how super serious you want to take the diet plan. But essentially, what you're doing is you're eating mostly fat to make your body efficiently burn the fat as its main fuel source. So you're getting into something called a state of ketosis, where your body's running off of ketones. And I'm not going to get all sciencey and explain it to you. There's far better people on YouTube that can do that anyway. But essentially, you're trying to teach your body to use fat as its main fuel source. And of course, this is supposed to help you lean out, stay on track with a diet plan, and see weight loss results. That's essentially why it's pushed so strongly lately. Now, there's a couple different ways to go about the ketogenic diet. There's the way that a lot of companies try to sell it to you, and there's the way that it actually works, and you can basically divide them up in two different ways by calling one clean keto and the other dirty keto. So if you're looking to start a ketogenic plan and somebody starts off by saying you're gonna have a ton of bacon for breakfast, well, that's probably a dirty keto way of going about it. Clean keto focuses more on using healthy fats, fatty meats, fish, nuts, oils, those types of things as its main food source. So the idea once your body starts consuming all of these fats is that fat is supposed to be very satiating. Even though it's not a lot of volume, it's supposed to give you a feeling of fullness, according to this diet plan. What I found was sometimes, yes, that was the case. I would feel very satisfied, like I didn't need to eat anything. But more often than not, what would come up is I would feel hungry. Especially initially. If you've been having carbs all your life and all of a sudden you switch that fuel source over to try to make it fats, your body's gonna say, what the heck's going on here? Where's my glucose? It's getting all this fat and it doesn't quite know what to do with it right away. As time goes on, your body does get accustomed to it and it will switch over to using ketone bodies as its main fuel source. Unfortunately, and one of the reasons a lot of people end up quitting this diet is because it's a rough go. You get things like headaches, you get very thirsty, you find that you're starving because the food quantity is not quite as much. You can get something called the keto flu because your body's used to getting so many carbohydrates. All of a sudden you've removed that from your diet plan and your body's wondering what's going on. It doesn't feel like it has any energy. Eventually you will switch over to using fats as a main fuel source, but it takes a solid 4 to 6 weeks before your body gets fully accustomed to it. And that's probably a little too long for most people to stick with a diet plan. But some people, it works great. How did I feel on it? Well, I noticed that my workouts weren't as intense. I didn't feel like I had the energy to go at it as I like to at the gym, as hard as I want to. I really didn't feel like my lifts were as effective. Me personally, I felt like I couldn't really get a solid pump at the gym. My workouts overall felt very lethargic. I found myself counting down the minutes to when the next meal was. The number one way that you can make the ketogenic diet better is if you smash the like button, comment, anything down below, and subscribe if you're not subscribed. All right, let's get back to the video. Now, the foods that I was having were very high in fats and they tasted good. The problem was that it wasn't a lot of it. And I found myself just waiting for that next meal. Man, I can't wait to eat that next one. It's gonna taste good. It's not gonna be a lot. Found myself having to really slow down how I eat. I eat very fast in general. It's something that took me getting a little accustomed to. It was very challenging. I found myself at certain points probably eating more than I should have on the diet plan because I was just very hungry, especially on workout days where I was lifting heavy weights. It was very challenging early on before my body had switched over to using ketones as its main fuel source, because what you're doing is you're depleting all the glycogen stores from your muscles. Your body's craving food. It's used to getting carbohydrates. It's wondering where they are. And really what it does is it makes you feel lousy and it makes you really hungry. It's your body's response to, hey, dummy, go eat something. Before your body gets accustomed to using fat as a fuel source, this is probably the toughest part about the keto diet early on, and that's exactly what I found. It took me a long time before I felt comfortable, and even when I finally did get into ketosis, it really wasn't something that I really enjoyed. I still didn't feel like my workouts were as effective, and I was just kind of going along, seeing how it went, wondering when's this magic gonna kick in where I'm gonna feel great. Similar to intermittent fasting, you do get those cognitive benefits where you feel like your mental acuity is strong, you feel like you've had some coffee even though you didn't, your brain's ready to go, and you can concentrate a lot better. But unfortunately for me, the physical stuff wasn't as easy. It didn't really work well for me at all. I found myself discouraged a lot of the times after my workouts because I didn't feel like I could really progress like I was before when I was having carbs in my diet plan. And it was something overall that just really wasn't working. And I did make it to the 4th month and I was like, I just don't think this is gonna work for me long term. And that's really what I was looking for, something that I could do forever. And this just wasn't it. The problem too was the foods. The food selection, yeah, it's great. You say you can eat a lot of fat. Usually that's something that tastes really good. And people like that idea when they start hearing about the keto diet initially. But unfortunately, I started getting bored with the foods. The fats, all that, it wasn't very exciting to eat. Certainly not like the anabolic diet, where there's a lot of variety and you can basically eat whatever you want, just make better choices. This is, again, you're restricted. You can only have fat. You need to make sure you're getting 70 to 80% of your food calories every day from fats. And that's challenging to work into your diet plan in general, but you can't even go over on your protein. If you have too much protein, what's going to happen is you're going to kick yourself out of ketosis as well, and you really end up doing the Atkins diet, where your low carb diet is what it essentially turns into. That's kind of what separates Atkins low carb diet from the ketogenic diet, is the protein. The protein's still super low and the fat's a little bit higher, and you really got to be careful with the carbs. Like 50 grams is like a max, and you know you can have 50 grams in a sitting. Everything that goes into your body, you have to be very specific with the foods that you're eating, the ones that you're choosing for the week. And what becomes even more challenging is when you're out with friends or you're out with family and you can't find anything to eat. It gets very frustrating, and people are asking, oh, well, why did you order this, or why did you order that, and how come you're not having that on your plate, and why did you push that part of your food off to the side? And you got to answer a lot of questions, which, you know, fine, whatever. If you don't mind doing that, that's fine. Some restaurants have gotten a little more attuned to it and have had keto options on it, but it's still very rare even today. The foods aren't fun. The foods just are not fun to eat. You get really sick and tired of having fat all the time. At least I did. I didn't see it as something that I enjoyed at all. I got very bored with that way of eating very quickly. I just kept doing it because I'm very disciplined. I can follow a diet plan. If you tell me this is what I have to eat, I will eat it. Even if I've written it out myself, I can do that. But man, fat, after a while, it just wasn't doing it for me, and it was actually starting to feel lousy having fat all the time. Had, again, more digestive issues, just like when I did intermittent fasting. There was actually a lot of parallels between the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting that I experienced, and they do say that the magical combination is to combine the two for ultimate fat loss, and I can see why that's the case, and it could work, but I guess at the end of the day you have to measure how do you feel overall. I didn't feel good doing either one. Keto definitely was not going to be a long-term solution for me, and I do know people who swear by it. They see great results. They're able to cut using it. They get super shredded. You don't see a lot of people with a lot of muscle on the ketogenic diet. It just doesn't happen. You don't have the appropriate amount of carbohydrates in order to get those type of gains. You can certainly lean out doing it, and I did notice I was getting a little bit leaner. I think a lot of it had to do because there was so little choices, and because the fat content's so high, you really have to keep your calorie count in check. But for me, it was a no-go. I didn't see myself being able to do it long term. I was sick of the food. You couldn't really go out and socialize with people unless they were on the ketogenic diet, and not a lot of people want to do that because, let's face it, carbs are awesome. Even after seeing some success, being able to lean out a little bit more on the keto diet, it really wasn't something that I found enjoyable, and it was very challenging to do with my family, with my friends, whenever we'd go out, whenever we'd get together. It was something that just didn't seem to really mesh very well with my lifestyle. And I guess at the end of the day, that's the biggest thing. You need to find something that fits into your lifestyle. And I often go back and I look at these different diets that I've done, because now that I've been on the anabolic diet for quite some time now, it's something that I can maintain for the rest of my life. I get to eat the foods that I love, the types of foods that I'm eating I can have when I'm with my family, when I'm not with my family, when I'm out with my friends. It's something that has a huge amount of variety in it, and you can make something work usually anywhere that you're at. You can find something that's gonna make it work for you in that moment. You can at least get by. Even if you're only being anabolic 80% of the way, you know that you can hop right back on it once you get out of there, and it's gonna be a simple changeover. It's not something where you're restricted in any way. You just have to rework it a little bit. So my biggest takeaways from having tried the ketogenic diet were that my workouts felt very sluggish. I found that recovery was very slow. I found myself being sore 1 or 2 days longer than I was before when I was doing more of a carbohydrate type of diet plan. It was something where the variety of foods wasn't quite where I needed it to be, and I really searched hard for recipes to do, different recipes to put together, and nothing was even all that exciting for me where I felt like I wanted to make it. The diet not fitting into my overall lifestyle was probably the #1 factor in me saying this isn't gonna be for me, and I moved on and tried something different. So I'm curious, have you guys tried the ketogenic diet before? Did it work for you? How did you feel when you did it? I'd love to know how your workouts felt on it. Some people rave about it in terms of their workouts. Some people say the same thing I did, that it was no good. I'm curious how you felt. Why don't we talk about different diet plans in general that you've done in the comments section down below? And let's get a good discussion going here on the different diets that you tried before you went on the anabolic diet or whatever diet plan you're doing right now. But for now, that's gonna be it for me. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.